Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked, blissed? Here we go. You dial set correctly to usaprepares.com. We're delighted you're with us today in class. We broadcast 2 hours from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. Mackenzie's engineering today at GCN. Thank you, Mackenzie. And there's a link to all of your instructors on the website, usaprepares.com. If you'd like to call us, 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. If you'd like to listen, bring us with you as you travel, or listen at work, 605-477-3249, 605-477-3249. Dr. Shealy's with us. Welcome, Dr. Shealy.
Good morning, Vince. How y'all?
Hey, how is Dr. Shealy?
He is wonderful, thank you.
Great. Dr. Shealy, I want to let you know I have followed your advice and to the letter. And you have talked about in the past your favorite word, detachment. And so... You know something's coming, right? So, we've talked about the attack on our family by the state of Missouri, their wrongfully conceived fishing expedition where they demanded that we pay them $100,000, and then they attacked us again and demanded $1,000. Well, of course, it ended very well from our perspective. They backed down. They sent us 2 letters of apology, one from the director of the Division of Revenue and one from the senior legal counsel. And so they said, most so sorry, we didn't mean to do it. Sorry for the inconvenience. Inconvenience my foot. So anyway, I've detached from that. I've put it behind me. And I have attached to something very positive. And the new mission is to teach people how to pay less taxes to those thugs. So, Dr. Shealy, I have detached from, this anger where they wanted to put a levy on our farm. Lien on our farm. And I have attached to the notion that I should be teaching people how they can avoid paying sales tax and other taxes, income taxes, based on the rules that are written for our compliance pleasure. So I'm going to be teaching that class on Friday, hour number 2. So class, if you want to learn how to pay less in taxes and attach to that based on my detachment, I invite you to do that. And I can pretty much guarantee that if you pay attention in class and you learn some of these techniques, and it's about behavior. It's about doing the same thing you'd probably be doing anyway, but looking at it slightly differently. If you decide you want to do that, I can pretty much guarantee you'll save at least $1,000 per year from now on. And if you don't, I suggest you call the station that you're listening to and demand a refund for for all that you've paid that radio station for listening to this broadcast. What do you think, Dr. Shealy?
I'm with you all the way, Big Blue.
I have detached, and I love it. I've focused on the positive aspects of being attacked by the big bad machine. So, Dr. Shealy, I was thinking it'd be wonderful to hear what's new in your world. What's new in the world of Dr. Shealy?
Well, we had our summit meeting this past few days, and it went well. And now we move on for the next step in the scalar world.
Okay, what is the next step?
Well, interestingly, Carl Swanson, one of the really great physicists that I know, is dropping by today to talk with me about, this whole business of scalar, which I still have trouble fully understanding. And Lou Cassidy, of course, for whom I'm grateful to you for our introduction several years ago, is working on producing our own scalar machine.
Wonderful, wonderful, great. I called Bert Bertonis and talked to him for at length about scalar energy, and he is pursuing some additional investigation, and he will be contacting me and you with some new information. And he said that he was really, really fascinated with the fact that you and he and I and probably Lou Cassidy as well are very concerned about the dangers of microwave radiation, but we're all interested in scalar energy. So very interesting. So I'll let you know how that progresses in the minute I hear from Bert Bertonis, who is a patent engineer in Silicon Valley, also a senior instructor here at USA Prepares. The minute I hear from him, I'll let you know, and we can all talk about scalar energy as well. So I think it's wonderful that you are continuing the pursuit of this. And I've got to tell you that there's no question in my mind that something is going on in that scalar energy room. And I mentioned before on this broadcast that I just tried to sit there and quietly read something that I absolutely had to read. Couldn't do it. I just, I was, I don't know if the word is lulled into relaxation. I don't know what the word is, but I was put into a deep state of relaxation. And it kind of looked like if we were on board a ship, Dr. Shealy, with all of those, what would you call them, where you lie down on those, they're kind of like half chair, half beds. You kind of lie down and everybody's like asleep. It's kind of like that. Everybody was totally relaxed, as if we were bathing in the sun, not a care in the world. That was the impression that I got. Is that what you've seen as well?
Yes, no question about it.
Mm-hmm. 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 Okay, so that's the scalar energy study. Dr. Shealy, one of the things I wanted to ask you about was in your travels you get a chance to meet lots of people. You sit on airplanes next to them. You can look left, right. As you can meet and talk and see people. In the terminals where you're getting ready to get on a flight, and in your travels you meet lots of people at your conventions and so forth. Are there some overall diagnoses of health or lack of health that you can see very quickly, either instantly upon meeting someone, or from a distance, or as you walk, through the conventions and meetings that you attend? Is there something that you see as an overall trend that either
the biggest
is
overall
positive?
trend is obesity.
Yeah.
It's so obvious. Remember, two-thirds of all Americans are overweight, and a full one-third are just plain sloppy fat. That means officially obese.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I've mentioned that I'm on this steroid, and I'm almost done. A couple more days, and I'll be done with it. So I'm weaning off it, and it causes me to want to eat like everything in sight. But I have a feeling that people who are obese don't have this kind of craving that is chemically induced that I have. This, where it doesn't almost doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
I had to force my car not to go into a McDonald's. It wanted to go there, and I said, "No, you can't do that. You can't do that." Dr. Shealy may see us. Now, so what I'm saying, but that's a chemical condition. Are people who are obese, are they experiencing a chemical condition that's making them eat everything in sight, or
it's a combination.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the number one cause of obesity is poor self-esteem and a need to feel good, and therefore, because they don't feel good about themselves, they tend to cram food in to satisfy their need, for feeling okay. That's just part of it, but I think a big one.
Wow, and it's making it worse.
Right.
Because if they have low self-esteem, they probably want to look more, more healthy, and
Right.
less overweight. Okay, so if that's the case, Dr. Shealy, if it's low self-esteem, how do they fix it?
I'm sorry?
If part of the cause is low self-esteem,
Right.
how do they fix this? How do they fix it?
Well, the best way is with past life therapy. 1 or 2 sessions of looking at why they came into this life to prove to themselves they're okay is beyond me.
Well, I have experienced a past life regression with you, and I found out that I was not a general, I was not a president, I was not royalty, I was just some guy, I was just a farmer. It was not the kind of thing where I could look back at what I learned as you did this regression and say, wow, I was really somebody back then, and I'm just a farmer today. And so for me it was very interesting, but I don't think it didn't change my eating habits. I'm still just as skinny as I ever was. Well, I've gained 6 pounds, but
yeah, I didn't know your father, but I know your mother.
Yes.
You grew up not feeling neglected, abandoned, or abused.
That's true.
That is the problem. And it's not necessarily something that the parent creates, but the child somehow feels abandoned, abused, or neglected in some way early in childhood, and they never get over that.
Is there a way, when we come back, is there a way that we can get over that or remedy that somehow, the feeling of being neglected, abandoned, or abused? Is there a way that we can get past that and do better and make the rest of our lives better? Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. This is USA Prepares. That's Dr. Norm Shealy's with us. If you'd like to go to his website, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. If you'd like to get the same newsletter that we receive here at the farm, it's absolutely free. normshealy.com, and you can sign up for it. Also, you can peruse the website and see the offerings, the bliss oils, the magnesium lotion and sprays and so forth, and books right on the website. And also the optimal recommendations. You can get your health information right there on the same website, normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy, we were talking about low self-esteem, the feeling of being neglected, abandoned, abused. What can we do about it? Is there a way we can fix it in addition to the past life regression?
Well, some people will do well by using Air Bliss twice a day for the first week or two and then once a day. It does help with one biochemical that is totally missing in these people, and that is oxytocin.
Okay. And so I can see, Dr. Shealy, as I travel, I can see people who are grumpy in their jobs. I mean, they interface with the public, and it's like when it's my turn to be served by them, they're annoyed. It's like, God, jeez, another one.
Right.
The line is endless, and these people just keep showing up, and it's like ruining my day. Is that an indication of low self-esteem, or this resentment toward people who they're supposed to be serving at their job? Is that part of it?
I think the major problem in humanity is low self-esteem. In other words, if you don't feel wanted, nurtured, supported as a child, it can lead to anger, guilt, anxiety, and depression. And ultimately, those are the psychological results of not feeling good about yourself.
Okay. So, Dr. Shealy, one of the things that I do in my life, and I feel lots of successes, and let me give you some examples. So for the last 4 days or so, I've been on the tractor. If I haven't been on the air, I've been on the tractor, or I've been maintaining the equipment in preparation for using the equipment for baling hay. And so for 4 days or so, I baled 205,000 pounds of hay. Now, I can pat myself on the back, and I can feel good about that. I I I got it done, and now all that's left is to move that hay, and a lot of it's already in the barn. But that's today's job. The minute the broadcast is over, so I can feel some real short-term successes. I can feel that, and I'm not trying to brag, class. What I'm trying to do is I'm saying that here's some things that I feel good about, and maybe there are things in your life that you can feel good about as well. So in preparation for the hay season, and hay is very tough on equipment. We have lots of breakdowns typically. I went through all of our equipment with our son, and we prepared to make sure that anything that could break, was in top condition. We didn't waste money doing it. We didn't repair things that didn't need to be repaired, but we did make sure that the equipment was ready, and it was all greased and serviced and oil changed, and whatever had to be done was done. The tires were checked, the hoses were checked, anything that needed to be replaced that we thought was going to fail, we took care of, and it went very, very smoothly. We had the least amount of failures, the least amount of problems that we've ever had, and I can feel good about those successes. So what I'm saying is my list of things that I have to do is way longer than I can accomplish. But I have accomplishments all day long, every day, because the list is that big. And I feel good about getting these things done because I can check them off. Now, what I don't feel good about is when I can't get to accomplish things that I'd like to accomplish. When I'm behind getting things done or it takes me longer, that's not a lot of fun. But when I get things done, I feel good about it. Dr. Shealy, is that part of the problem that not everybody has a list? Well, and I don't mean a literal list necessarily, but, a figurative list. Yeah. Is that part of our problem?
Yes. I think the basic problem is not having what I consider the single most important need in life, and that is to feel that you're doing something that helps other people. To me, there's only one purpose in life: to help other people. Anything productive that fulfills that.
Yeah, really good point, Dr. Shealy, and I'll be right back. Class, Dr. Norman Shealy is with us, and we were talking about helping people. And Dr. Shealy, as you were saying that, I was thinking. Every once in a while, I'll call one of our instructors up, and I'll say there's an opening here. There's a slot open for a broadcast class, and never in all the years that I've been doing it has any one of our instructors said, "I can't believe you called me." You know what? It's such a pain when you call. They don't say that. They jump to the chance and say, "I'd be delighted. I'd be delighted to." Take that opening that you have. The only thing that sometimes happens is they have a commitment that prevents them. Other than that, they're delighted to. So I think the common thread, or one of the common threads that we have here at USA Prepares, is that all of us are interested in helping people, every single one of us. And I think maybe that's why all of us are pretty darn happy.
Well, I think that's true.
I've connected those dots based on what you've just said.
Happiness is an inside job, and it depends upon feeling that you're okay and that you're doing something worthwhile. Those are the big requirements.
Mm-hmm. 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 In that line of thinking, Dr. Shealy, I think we can help some people who might not be happy. And I was reading an article about it used a term that I've never heard before. It's called phubbing. Phubbing. And phubbing is the term that was developed, I think, just recently for the combination of two words, phone and snubbing. And what's happening is there are people who are in relationships, let's say a guy and a gal, let's say they're married, or let's say they're engaged, let's say they're boyfriend and girlfriend. And what's happening is that this cell phone addiction, smartphone addiction is so great that the average person now is checking his or her phone 150 times a day. Now, I might, if I were dating someone who had a cell phone, I might feel snubbed if that person were checking her phone every 4 minutes. I would feel slighted. I'd feel like, I can't believe I'm being replaced by that darn thing you've got in your hand.
Well, I consider cell phones the greatest social disruptor in history. It's worse than war, practically, because it's every day and all day. And it's one of the reasons that I do not allow it. Even if I had a phone, what I call a dumb phone, I wouldn't turn it on unless I wanted to make a call in an urgent situation. But it wouldn't be idle conversation.
Right. It would be something important, necessary, required, and so forth. Yes.
And that maybe occurs once a month.
So there was... There's been a study, a Bavler University study, and they found that 46% of the people in the study reported being fubbed by their partner, and 22% said that the relationship experienced conflict as a direct result of the phone snubbing. And I can understand that. It bothers me when I see people who I'm with, and let's say I'm having dinner with someone, and they've got their phone and they're checking their phone. Why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? I mean, I could understand a medical doctor who's on call. I can understand that. But for just about everybody else who's not on call, with medical emergencies, life and death situations, it's really hard to understand this and how we've allowed this, because prior to the cell phones, we got along just fine without being permanently connected to anyone who feels like texting or talking to us. And I'm just concerned that it's such a bad thing that we're doing, and how we are allowing this device and other people who are not with us at the present time in person, we're allowing other people to control what's happening remotely. And I don't like it. I really don't like it. And it's not like schools are not encouraging this. I talked to someone who was going on an interview. Person was going for an interview of her life. Okay, a really, really important interview. Had to do with, if she didn't get a job, she might not be able to pay her mortgage in a few months, or 6 months or so. Her savings would be dwindled to nothing. She might lose her house. And I said, you might want to consider making sure you turn your cell phone off during the interview. And think about that. Why would I even have to say that? Because young people...
That's just the way the world is.
Yeah, because young people today... Yeah. And I was talking with one of our instructors who happens to be a college teacher. And I asked her about cell phones in the classroom. And one of the problems is the educational institution sends out information, study guides and so forth, that are picked up on cell phones. So now it's hard to say to the students, you can't have your cell phone in class, because the university or the educational institution is using the cell phones for communications with the students. Teachers are communicating about grades and so forth, and so the cell phone is like the handheld communicator. But if I were teaching in class, I would not want cell phones being a distraction in classroom activities, because one person may get a phone call and it disrupts the entire class. So this instructor was asking me, my thoughts about what would happen if I were in a classroom, a large classroom, with maybe 100 students in it, in a college environment, and someone's cell phone rang. And I said, well, that's easy.
Students,
I would just say, a class...
Anyone... I'm sorry. I just interrupted. Sorry. There should be a mic.
No, go ahead. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
I would say at the beginning of every class, if I see anyone using a cell phone, you have just flunked, period.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's a good response. I like it. My response was not quite so severe in the long run. In the short run, it was... In the short run, my response is brutal. And that response is, class, you're going to all need to be quiet, because Daisy over there is taking a phone call. So we're all going to wait for her to finish the phone call.
That might be more embarrassing.
Well, I just think that the first time I did that would probably be the only time be necessary, because after the phone call, I would say, Daisy, is everything okay? Good. Okay. So class, from now on, if any of you have to receive a phone call, we're going to extend to you the same courtesy that we extend to Daisy. And we will be quiet so that you'll be able to hear the other person. And
so we can hear what you say.
Now, there was a young person at the meetups when I did the meetups in Springfield, Missouri, and I was just so annoyed with these nonstop cell phone calls and checking the phones and so forth, that I decided, I was not going to continue with this. I was not going to allow it for many reasons. And I asked everyone to tell us, what their thoughts were. And this one young person said his grandmother was, in her 80s, and he might get a phone call that she needs help. And I explained to him that's a valid reason, but he shouldn't be at the meetup if he's that concerned about his grandmother. And I think it's wonderful that he was, but he should not be at the meetup. He should be with her. And so it's a double-edged sword. I understand, class, some of the reasons for having a cell phone, but I'll tell you what, it's delightful not having one. I can be on the tractor and I'm not going to be interrupted. I'm not. But I do have a walkie-talkie. If there's something really, really important, someone will call me on the walkie-talkie and tell me, of that, and I can respond instantly. But I'm only responding to someone at our household. I'm not responding to the general public at large. I'm not. So I'm glad we had that conversation, Dr. Shealy, and we can remove ourselves from the 24/7 being on tap 24/7 with cell phones. And
actually, the only difference between you and me about it is I do carry an old-fashioned flip phone turned off. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as I said, I probably turn it on once a month when I need to make a call. Mm-hmm. But I don't allow people to call me.
Yeah, and Dr. Shealy, I believe that if you're in a room and you did not have that particular emergency flip phone with you, if you did not have that, I believe you could turn to any person in 360 degrees around you and say, you know what, I have this small problem. I have to make a phone call. I do not have a cell phone. Would it be okay if I made a phone call from your phone?
Well,
and I have a feeling, I'm pretty sure that anyone you look at, by turning 360 degrees, and the first person you see, or anybody you see, you could probably walk up to that person and say, I'm having a problem. Could I make a very short phone call? It's kind of an emergency. I'll stand right here with you. I'm not going to run away with the phone, but I do need to could I use your phone for just 1 minute, please? And they probably have unlimited long distance. It's not going to cost them extra for that phone call. And I'm pretty sure they'll say, sure. They'll probably be surprised that you don't have a phone to make your own phone call from your own phone, but I'm pretty sure they'll let you do that. Just as I'm pretty darn sure that if I have an emergency with a car and I can't fix it, and I raise the hood and I stand there looking like I'm scratching my head, somebody will stop eventually, and I could probably say to that person, would you mind making a phone call for me because I don't have a cell phone? I'm pretty sure that would work out, because right now there are not many payphone booths that you can find since they've been removed. I don't know where they've all gone, but they're not around very much. Dr. Shealy and I'll be right back. 6 times my employees, or if I saw all of my employees, if I were an employer, checking their cell phones 96 times a day, I'd be pretty darn frosted. Well, here's how I look at it. Okay, if they're checking them on the average of every 5 minutes, that means they're thinking about checking it before the 5 minutes arrives. They're checking it during the 5 minutes, and they're looking at it while they're checking it, and then they're thinking about what they just looked at after they put their cell phone away. So they're probably wasting at least 1 minute every 5 minutes of employed time. That's 20%. That means 20% of their employed life is being wasted.
David.
Doesn't that make sense?
It
Doesn't
makes
that make sense?
perfect sense. Perfect
Now,
sense.
how, Dr. Shealy, how would your office work if you're, I haven't seen your staff looking at their phones. They're busy taking
Well,
care
if
of your
I found them
patients.
doing that, I would fire them. I mean, I feel pretty strongly, at least as strongly as you do about this.
Yeah.
Crap is
And I
nonsense.
don't. Yeah. I remember going to this state office building in Jefferson City when I met with the senior legal counsel, and there the gal, at the reception desk, she was the only one there, and Mrs. Finelli and I were the only ones coming in, and there she was on her phone. She was there on her phone, with obviously a cell phone. Obviously, she should have been doing something, Actually, in that case, maybe someone who's in the Division of Revenue being on a cell phone, that'd be a good thing for we, the villagers, because they're not being so belligerent, beating us up. Maybe just doing their own personal stuff. But it just bothers me, and I just wanted to share that with you. And so we're talking about obesity and people who are overweight. Now, is there a way that you recommend if they want to lose some of that weight? What do they do? Because there are all kinds of diets and notions and potions and all kinds of recommendations that are being advertised, including surgery, gastric bypass surgery.
I consider that absolutely monstrous, wrong, bad, bad, an unbelievable desecration of the human body.
Okay, let me share this with you. I met a man in Virginia when I lived there. He was a pretty big boy. He was 500 plus pounds. And he used to visit us every once in a while, and he'd have to go through the door sideways. We had a 36-inch door, and he'd have to go through sideways to get through the door. Not only that, I mean, he's a big guy. As a matter of fact, he did not tie his sneakers because he probably couldn't tie his sneakers, probably couldn't reach down to tie his sneakers. And so I'm trying to describe this man, and he decided that he wanted to lose weight, and he was willing to go for the surgery. And he had it, and he lost weight. He literally became half the man he was. However, he put the weight back on. Not only that, he said, they didn't tell me that I couldn't have soda. They didn't tell me that I couldn't have, a regular meal. I'd have to eat more times per day, tiny meals. And they didn't tell him that it would really change his life based on, having a smaller digestive system. So the surgery for him really didn't work out all that well. Can we talk about that when we come back, Dr. Shealy, the negatives of this gastric bypass surgery that
absolutely.
Some people... Yeah, let's talk about that. Dr. Norman Shealy, medical doctor. We'll be right back. And frankly, people are just getting too fat. I can assure you that Dr. Shealy is not, and I'm not, and many of us here at USA Prepares are not.
You got cut off?
Okay. Dr. Shealy, I was saying that the obesity has become an epidemic in the United States, and it's actually all over the world. In many countries. And so some people are taking desperate measures in order to become less obese. And one of those things is surgery. And I just typed in weight loss surgery on a search engine, and I came up with this Oasis Hospital. And they've got this web page, and they're actually advertising with prices. And it says you can have a gastric sleeve surgery starting at only $4,600. You can have a single incision gastric sleeve at starting only at $5,200. I can't believe I've never seen advertisements for surgery before, but here it is. There's another one called a ROUX, if I'm saying it ROUX -EN-Y gastric bypass. That starts only at $6,000 according to this. You can have a revision surgery, but you got to call them for pricing. If you want to have a mini gastric bypass, that starts at $5,700. And there's another surgery called DUODENAL switch surgery, and that starts only at $4,600. So they tell you the prices, and they talk, and there are these smiling doctors willing to open you up and take out part of your digestive system. And that's why they say they are the number one choice for the majority of weight loss surgery patients traveling to Tijuana, Mexico. It says you will not find a more experienced surgical team anywhere. And that's the Oasis of Hope Hospital. I guess they're in Tijuana. Dr. Shealy, what are your thoughts about this kind of surgery, the long and short-term issues that
the number one is there's a risk of surgery, of damaging other organs, of brain damage, of death, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's minor compared to the fact that almost all of them lead to having to have your gallbladder taken out within 6 to 12 months of the original operation. And let's face it, having your gallbladder taken out in itself is a major digestive stress for the rest of your life for most people. But more importantly, it leads to all kinds of digestive problems. I mean, let's face it, the intestine is critical, as critical as your heart almost in life, in seeing that you can digest your food and remake your body and all that sort of stuff. I consider all of those surgeries an abomination, a risk to life and function, and stupid. But other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, the play goes on.
Mm-hmm. So, Dr. Shealy, let's say I weighed 300 pounds.
I'm sorry?
And let's say I weighed 300 pounds, okay? A little more than twice what I weigh. What would you say, and I said, Dr. Shealy, I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. I desire to lose weight. I will do whatever you say. What would you say?
Don't ever put anything with wheat or gluten in your mouth again. That's to the top of my list. It is the number one poison food. Number two, you must give up carbohydrates in general. You can have all the meat you want. You can have all the non-starchy vegetables you want. 1 or 2 small servings, you will lose weight on that. Now, in addition, if you really want to become healthy, you must begin today with a minimum of 3 minutes of physical exercise. And every day for the next 4 weeks, add 1 minute every day. I don't care what you do, just move. Mm-hmm. Guarantee you that will work. It may take you a year or a year and a half, but so what? It's better to lose it slowly.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. Shealy, if it took me a year, I'd be losing about a half a pound per day, right?
Yeah.
Now, is that a safe amount? What would be the maximum amount of weight loss per day that you would consider safe? Should I weigh 300 pounds?
Well, I would say the ideal would be to lose a half pound a day. But even a pound a week, if it takes you 3 years, it's better than staying fat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, how much, Dr. Shealy, how much of this equation or this recommendation that you have was based on me saying, I will do what it takes and I have this desire to lose the weight and I will do it? How much of...
100%. Because really, the problem is, it's like giving up nicotine. It does not work to wean yourself from cigarettes. Cold turkey is essential. You can wean yourself from weight, but you cannot wean yourself from drugs. Well, you can from most drugs, but not nicotine.
Well, I think I was drinking more coffee than I should. I'd have a few cups a day, and it was the regular stuff, the leaded, the caffeinated coffee. And I decided that I don't think that's all that good for me. The extra caffeine. So I quit cold turkey. Now, I had a headache for a couple of days, and I just told myself I didn't have a headache. I did, but I told myself I didn't. And within a couple of days, I wasn't looking in every cabinet for coffee. As a matter of fact, I just said I wasn't going to drink any more caffeinated coffee, and that was it. So I've, I don't know if it's a strong addiction or not to caffeine, but I was able to go cold turkey, and it was fine. That's fine. And every once in a while, I'll have a cup of coffee, but it's decaffeinated now.
You've got more common sense than most people. I'm not being facetious.
Well, well, it seemed easy to do, and why should I not do that? If you go to work and you have a job, for some reason, that cup of coffee on the desk, if you have that kind of a job where you sit at a keyboard or on the telephone or something, that cup of coffee seems to be a staple. It's just there, and people do that. But or great big soft drinks, and I see that at people's desks. But I don't think it's necessary. I think a glass of water would be okay, or if you're going to drink coffee, maybe decaffeinated would be the way to go. But
and for most people, up to 3 cups a day is not a problem.
And that's caffeinated?
It's caffeinated. Yeah, it's actually there's some health benefits from good coffee. But I'm not pushing it. I'm saying it's safe for the majority of people up to 3 cups a day. There's no evidence of health harm.
So to repeat your recommendation, should I have this? Should I be 300 pounds? Which I'm not. I'm half that, or less than half that. and if I wanted to lose weight, Dr. Shealy's recommendation is no wheat, no gluten. You must give up on carbohydrates. Add plenty of meat. If you want to eat meat, go ahead. Add non-starchy vegetables. Have them. 3 minutes of exercise per day, and increase that with 1 minute more of exercise every day. And that seems fine, Dr. Shealy. If I were 300 pounds, I could go out my back door, walk around the house one time. That's 3 minutes of exercise right there, right?
Exactly.
Okay, and maybe day number 2, go one door past. Go past the door I started the walk and go to the next door, maybe the side door. Okay, and then maybe swing my arms a little more and maybe walk a little more briskly. Then pretty soon I'll be up to twice around the house and 3 times around the house. And then go out to the mailbox, back, check the mail 3 times a day just to make sure. There's nothing to it. And that's in lieu of just lying back on one of those lazy boys and pushing buttons and watching the boob tube. Yeah. Sounds great to me. Dr. Shealy, I wanted to share something with you. My wife's grandmother lived to be, I think, 94. She lived in an old Victorian house, and it had very tall first floor ceiling, very tall. And her bedroom was up on the 2nd floor. And as she got older and older, she insisted every day, even though her knees were shot, and even though it took her a while to get up those stairs, she insisted on sleeping upstairs in her bedroom, and she felt that climbing those stairs was one of the reasons why she was able to still get around and still be quite healthy at 94, climbing the stairs. And that was her, probably 3 minutes of exercise at a minimum, twice a day. Does that sound like she was right? Because we live in a house that has a tall first floor ceiling, and I'm up and down the stairs. I'm thinking 15 times a day, minimum 15 times a day, up and down the stairs.
That is perhaps adequate exercise in itself. You don't have to do much more.
Yeah,
and it's not an essential, if you will.
Yeah, and it's not like I say, okay, I've only done 14. Let me do 15 times up and down the stairs. No, it's just a course of just living in this house. There are things upstairs, there are things downstairs, and just going up and downstairs is a part of being in this house. So that's just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of the exercise that I get here. We'll be right back. We're talking about increasing self-esteem during the first hour and the impact on weight. And lack of self-esteem leads to increase in weight. Well, on Friday, I'm going to be doing a special broadcast, hour number 2. And I'm going to teach you how to start your own business and take extreme tax deductions. I mean extreme. I've done this in person at many preparedness expos, and I had a gal who was in the class, and I said to the entire class, if you think that anything I said is not true, any of these potential deductions, are not viable, not above board, not according to code, let me know, because I want to hear it right now. And I challenged the entire class. There was a CPA in there, and she said, no, everything you're saying is absolutely true. However, you just push the limits. Of course I push the limits. I'm not going to let these other people steal my hard-earned money. I'm going to use their rules to the best advantage that I can. I'm not going to break the rules, but I will use them to my best advantage. And so she said that everything that I was saying is absolutely true. And that's what I'm going to teach on Friday, hour number 2. I'm going to teach you how to start your own business. Now, here are some of the benefits, medical benefits. Dr. Shealy talked with us today about self-esteem and its impact on weight. Well, I'm going to teach you how to start your own business. Now, this can be your passion, whatever it is. If you like fly fishing, if you like teaching, if you like mowing the lawn, if you like looking at your fish tank, whatever it is, whatever you love to do, your passion, I'm going to teach you how you can turn that into a business and how you can take extreme tax deductions. And you should be able to easily save $1,000 a year from now on. So I think you'll be happier. Why? You can do what I do. You can do what Dr. Shealy does. Dr. Shealy and I both have businesses. He is in the medical profession. I'm a farmer. I love what I do. He loves what he does. We share what we do. We teach about it in class. And we're happy. And neither one of us is overweight. And we're not going to be overweight, because we don't have low self-esteem. So we're going to teach you how to become happier, how to have some short-term successes, real short. You'll be patting yourself on the back, grinning from ear to ear at some of the successes that you will see almost immediately. You'll be healthier, you'll be happier, you'll be able to not be as heavy as you might ordinarily or otherwise be, I should say. Dr. Shealy, does that make sense from a medical perspective? Having a business, having business successes.
Common sense, the uncommon commodity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So do you think that what I said is medically viable, that having a business where you, a passion, not a business that you hate. I'm only suggesting that a person start a business, no matter what it is, about something that they just love to do.
Absolutely.
If they were on vacation, they would say, this is what I want to do. I'm saying that you can turn that into a business, whatever it is. And so medically, people would do better. Is that what we're saying? Because I believe it's true.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. There you go. So class, that's Friday. And I suggest that you tune in. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to make the other team really unhappy with me. They're not going to like the fact that I'm going to teach you how to save tax money. Really. So, Dr. Shealy, as you travel, as you meet people over the years, I'm sure that you have dispensed great, out-of-the-box medical advice, things that maybe your patients have not heard before. And what I'd love to hear is, so of those discussions that you've had with your patients, without describing, naming names, just by characteristics, things that you have identified that those patients should do, that they have done. They've said, you know what, Dr. Shealy, I believe you. I think you're absolutely right. I'm going to do exactly what you said. I'm going to follow your guidance. Would you tell us maybe a couple of those situations and the outcomes? So what you advised and what really, really worked well for them. Can you share with us that when we come back? And then how about the opposite of that, where you've given great medical advice and the person has not done it? And then what happened? Dr. Shealy and I'll be right back. Class, Dr. Norman Shealy is with us, normshealy.com. That's where you can get the bliss oils. That's where you can get the magnesium lotion and spray. That's where you can order the books. And that's where you can peruse the optimal health recommendations. normshealy.com, normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy is a medical doctor, brain surgeon, surgeon of the year, broadcaster, Native American medicine man, and farmer, and my friend. Dr. Shealy, you've met many, many people over the course of your medical practice, and you've offered great advice, I'm certain. Can you tell us some of the advice that you have given people, maybe the condition that you've observed, some of the advice that you've given them, and the outcome as a result of that advice?
Well, about 15% of people in general will ignore whatever I say because they don't want to take the time or effort to do it. And so they generally continue suffering until death do us part. About 85% accept what I say and use it, some of them much faster and better than others. I just finished a 2-week intensive with one of the most anxious people I've ever known in my life. It's been there since she was a young child. She's in her mid-50s now. And by the end of 2 weeks, she had essentially no pain, no anxiety. Obviously, she's got to continue working on it at home. But that's the optimal and actually better than average response. Most people require 1 to 3 months of continuing to do what I tell them to do in order to get well.
Mm-hmm. So, why is it that you see 15%? Do you have a feel for that?
Well, I personally
is it
think
laziness?
It's karma. I think it's unfinished business from a previous life, and they're not ready to deal with it even now.
Okay.
Let's say.
So,
let me deal with one of, to me, the most ridiculous problems existing in our society today, so-called transgender. Mm-hmm. Those people have, in my opinion, if they just have 1 or 2 past life therapy sessions, almost always they'll give up this fetish of changing sex. It's beyond ridiculous to think that you can, as a late teenager or young adult, or older adult, as in one case, change from one sex to another. But it's unfinished business. They went out of life in a previous incarnation as the opposite sex, unfinished in some way, and therefore they want to go back and get that. And all they got to do is recognize that's where it's coming from, and they'll give it up.
Have you had a past life regression where you have seen this, where you have heard this, where you've experienced the person saying the things that you're talking about that have indicated that there was And what is the outcome, Dr. Shealy? Are they repaired?
Most of the time, if it's a really good and past life therapy, like everything, nothing works 100% of the time. You know, my favorite statement is we can't decide whether you're dead or alive without going to the Supreme Court. But most of the time, when people recognize that this is a carryover from a previous life, they're done with it. It's a phenomenal, life-restoring event.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I had a past life regression with you, which we've talked about, a number of times on the air. And I was wondering, Dr. Shealy, is it possible that my past life regression could be a future life, or is it for certain that it was past life? Because what I saw, I saw myself looking down as a freedom fighter. It was me as a farmer in a time that was very Spartan. There were not a lot of amenities, and it was a very rough existence. And the enemy was coming, and they were 4 villages away, and they were burning.
I mean, after all, we have, we've gone through in various countries, various times over the past 10,000 years, remarkably extreme circumstances. So I think it's most likely. On the other hand, I have had an occasional progression, if you will, into a future life. But we usually help people go there purposefully to try to, again, solve some question that's not solved in the present.
Do you, in past life regressions, Dr. Shealy, is there a trend where the person would rather become embellished, more important than they might actually have been? Elevate themselves in stature and esteem by others, meaning, maybe nobility or something like that. Is there a trend that a person would want to do that?
Or it's possible, but actually I'm amazed at how frequently these circumstances of previous life are pretty simple. I haven't seen, I'll have to tell you one, and I can give you a case where This is a woman who was married to a very wealthy man, came as a patient to my clinic when we had an inpatient program. And she had an affair with one of the other patients and was talking about divorcing her husband and marrying this other man. She was what I call the typical Jewish American princess. And so I did a past life therapy with her 3 times. Every time she was a princess. 3 different lifetimes. So finally I said, okay, Bunny, what does this mean? She said, I was about to make a horrible mistake. I prefer my husband's money.
You know, I got a chuckle because I was doing some tractor therapy last 4 days, and the term, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but the term JAP, J-A-P, came to mind. And when I was at the university, there were women there who were pursuing their MRS degree, and the term was used, JAP, and it stood for Jewish American Princess.
Well,
Yep.
I mean,
And
I use the term because it is, it is a well-known subdivision, if you will, and I don't think it's possible for me to be accused of being, of having prejudice against Jews in general because, first of all, my dear bosom buddy, brother, Sergei Sorin is Jewish, and secondly, 2 of the groomsmen at my own wedding were Jewish friends. So I've used the term just as the exceptional woman who demands extreme wealth.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, that was the kind of a definition that I knew of, and I have a dear friend as well who is Jewish. And we get along just really, really well. When he comes over to the farmhouse, he's an instructor, by the way, class. And when he comes over to the farmhouse and we say grace, the only difference in his grace and our grace is the word Jesus. He doesn't use it, and we may use it. So, but he doesn't ask for anything. He doesn't ask for winning the lottery. He doesn't, doesn't ask for great wealth. And as a matter of fact, he has a saying, and he says that he's very blessed. He's very, very blessed, and he is. And he says the harder he works, the more he's blessed.
And that's generally true.
Yeah. Dr. Shealy, there is a study that has been performed, and it's about smoking. And it's in the Washington Post today, and it says America's new tobacco crisis. The rich stopped smoking. The poor didn't. And they have this face of this woman, and she's holding a cigarette between her fingers, and she's exhaling, smoke's coming out. She's all shriveled up and wrinkled. And that is the image I have in my mind of someone who's been smoking their entire life, and maybe they look to be 15 or 20 years older than their chronological age from all the wrinkles that seems to come along with tobacco. And I believe, I absolutely am positively convinced that tobacco causes wrinkles more than you'd have more wrinkles if you were a heavy smoker than if you were not a smoker. Do you think that's true?
Oh, okay. No, that's unequivocal, absolutely unequivocal.
Okay, and is that Dr. Shealy, because that when you first start smoking, your face wrinkles up because this is so obnoxious to your body and it's an insult to your body?
Well,
and it keeps wrinkling.
It's that. No, I think it's actually damage to every cell in your body.
Okay. Well, what this study has outlined is that there's a change in U.S. smoking rates from 1966 to 2015. And here's what it says. It says that if you have had some high school education, smoking rates have declined 39%. If you have a high school diploma, smoking has decreased 52% for that population that has a high school diploma. If you have some college, not a college degree, but spent some time in college, the decrease in smoking rate is minus 61% of that population. And if you have a college degree, and I guess that would be either a 2-year or greater, 2-year, 4-year degree, minus 83%, meaning the decrease in the population of smoking down 83% if you have a college degree. Now, some people think that there is a relationship between education and whether you are economically better off or not. And there probably is a correlation there. I believe there is. So for most people, the more educated, the better the potential for earning more money. Well, this is saying that with education, the more education, the less likely or the less people they're less inclined to smoke. What do you think? When we come back, can we talk about smoking and what your experiences are? Do you think that people who are more educated are less likely to smoke? Or do you think that maybe this study is flawed? We'll be right back. Dr. Shealy, are you there? Did we lose Dr. Shealy?
I'm sorry?
Okay. Dr. Shealy, the article that I was reading suggested that a lower level of education corresponds to more people smoke who are less educated. Have you seen that in your life? I have. I've seen people
absolutely. No question about it. And I think it's, well, to some extent, education does help. You know, if you've got a normal IQ, you begin to understand the facts better. Unfortunately, if you're not educated, you miss a lot of facts.
There was a guy, his name is Robert Allen, and I remember his television commercial. He was teaching a class that you could buy about how to invest in real estate. And during his commercial, they had a really tight shot of him, and he said, "I'm going to tell you a secret." And this was, how you can buy single-family homes, how you can buy apartment buildings, invest in real estate, and become financially independent. That was what his commercial was selling, this class that he probably charged about $500 for. This was back in the 1980s, and I remember it fairly well. And so the commercial got a really tight shot of his face, and he said, "I'm going to tell you a secret. If you don't want to be poor, watch what poor people do, and don't do it."
Well, I guess that fits the smoking.
Well, and it fits lots of things in life. Dr. Shealy, if you don't want to be obese, watch what obese people do and don't do it. If you, and it fits so many situations. And as I go through life, that's something that I've remembered. And that kind of ties in with this next little story. And it says it's from marketwatch.com. And it says college students would give up their friends' privacy for free pizza. And here's what it says. It says that this study at Massachusetts Institute of Technology said that 60% of those, nearly three-quarters, 74% of people in the U.S. believe it's very important to be in control about who gets information about them. And 60% say they would never feel comfortable sharing information like their email contacts. Their email, a list. They wouldn't feel comfortable sharing that. However, the vast majority of college students, 98% of them, gave away their friends' emails when promised a free pizza. So, no, I'd never give you my email list. Pizza? Did you say pizza? Okay. It's amazing to me at how easily it is to bribe people. And I'm thinking that if someone said to me, "I'd like to have your email list," I'd say no. They'd say, "Well, how about $100? No. How about $1,000? No. How about $1 million? No. How about $1 trillion? No. It's not for sale. I mean, period. There is no amount of bribing that would make me do it. Do you feel the same way, Dr. Shealy?
Oh, absolutely.
So what is it? How are some people so weak? What?
Well, it's like those who smoke. I'm sorry, that's a weakness of intellect, in my opinion.
There you go. Dr. Shealy, thank you so much for being with us. I look forward to every Wednesday being with you, and we've been doing this for years and years and years. I want to thank you for mentoring me, encouraging me, teaching me, and teaching our class here at USA Prepares. I really appreciate it, and I know the class does as well. Thanks so much for being with us. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.